Payton Talbott is good. He's only 25 years old and he's going to go very far. Undefeated, 7-0, 2 wins in the UFC, both finishes, and he just beat Cameron Saaiman. Saiman's a really good fighter too, but Payton Talbott was not lying about wanting to perform better than he did last time. Pardon my language, but he whooped Cameron Saaiman's ass, bro. Flawless technique for the majority of the fight. There were a couple moments where he walks into the danger zone a little too comfortably, tries to terminate his way through a lot of shots, but also has clean defense whenever he's not getting caught up in the fight, and his shot selection is beautiful to watch. A great example of that was when he threw the lead uppercut, as Cameron Saaiman was always trying to paw at the lead hand, feeling the range and also trying to hand trap. Every single time that Tabbit would bring his lead hand forward, because Cameron Saaiman is a southpaw, opposite stance, Saaiman always pawed forward with his lead hand. So Tabbit timed this. As soon as he extended that hand forward again, and he knew Saaiman was going to do the same, Tabbit curved that lead hand into an uppercut on the half beat, angling under Saaiman's extended lead arm and landing it precisely on the right eye. Very Conor McGregor-like. Or the way he kneed Saaiman to the face, timed it perfectly as Saaiman was shooting for a takedown. This was pure future sight, just predicting this move completely with perfect timing. Saaiman didn't really give many tells that he would shoot a takedown in the fight. Tabbit just felt it and predicted it. The knee landed more on the neck though, where it wasn't going to cause the maximum amount of damage, but enough to almost finish Saaiman right there. And the fact that Tabbit knew this after the fight, he actually remembered where he landed the knee and why it didn't knock Saaiman out cold. It just shows how aware he is the entire time he's fighting. And then as Saaiman rose up, Tabbit started pummeling the body, man. Vicious body shots. And no matter the range, he's always going to find your chin. Like, look how short this left hook is. This is the full range of the left hook. This is as far back as it goes. And then he just throws it into the chin. Or the moment where he tried to time another intercepting knee, but misses the body as Saaiman throws his own left hand. But the collision causes Saaiman to work with the left underhook, and Tabbit elbow frames to put space between him and Saaiman as he curves the right elbow over Saaiman's left underhook and crushes him with it. Saaiman doesn't even know where he is, and he tries to posture back up, but unknowingly gets cracked by another elbow. These are powerful shots, man, with Tabbit's entire body behind them. And then a follow-up left hand after. I mean, Saaiman is just getting destroyed. His body's like contorting with every shot. Tabbit's shot selection is amazing to watch. He knows exactly where to place his punches at the correct angles. He has on-point timing, immense power in everything he throws. And above all else, in my opinion, is how little telegraph he has in all of his strikes. Especially his straights that he's able to lunge in from distance. Look the form of Tabbit the entire way through. As he's going to throw this right straight from distance, he's kind of long range here. He's firing it out, no elbow flare, very little cock back of the arm. He doesn't tuck it, he doesn't bring it outward, he doesn't bring it over. Just from his stance, from position, fires the punch forward. Perfect extension, and you can see that Saaiman is putting up his guard, but because of how small the telegraph was, Tabbit was able to land his punch right on Saaiman's face. If Payton Talbott telegraphed his punch just a little bit, a minor cock back would have allowed Saaiman to defend the punch, but because of how he throws it, it's very hard to see them coming from distance. And remember, this is kind of long range for a punch too. It's even more dangerous when he's closer, and he did this multiple times throughout the fight. Many of his punches just had no to little telegraph, and he's still able to generate so much power in those. It's frightening for any 135er. And not only his punches, even his kicks. There was that one head kick from the lead leg. He just throws it up at the head. And the only telegraph was that he switched before he did it, right? It was a switch lead high kick, but the switch of the legs was still very fast. He also did some cool stuff like catching the kick and then turning that into a counter spinning hook kick. The reason why this is so effective is because when you're holding someone's leg, you're kind of making them stay in position. And at that point, the best thing to do sometimes is to throw your most powerful strike, because they can't really move, and if it's powerful enough, if there's enough leverage in the strike, in this case being a spinning hook kick, it's very hard to just block it. But notice the timing. Tabbit didn't throw the spinning hook kick immediately when he caught Saaiman's leg. Saaiman turned to the side and tried to pull his leg out. And as soon as Tabbit knew that his grip was strong enough that he can hold Saaiman in position, he knew that Saaiman would have to rotate back facing him. And as soon as that happens, right, as soon as Saaiman's body faces more towards Tabbit and he steps to the right, that's when Tabbit throws the spinning hook kick. It partially gets blocked, but still a very powerful shot. And I would have to say, like, the only thing that worries me about Payton Talbott is how comfortably he walks into the danger zone. Like there are some times where he literally walks into a punch or where a punch could land on him. It reminds me of like Davidson Figueiredo back in the day when he was destroying the guys up to the title fight. He did that many times, just so confident in his ability to take a shot. And Tabbit did that a couple times here against Cameron Saaiman. In the 135-pound division, there's some guys that can crack, so that's the only thing that worries for him moving forward, but it wasn't that often, right? He would have solid defense more than he would just walk into punches. And before we get into some of the other cool stuff, let's talk about that finish. Tabbit walked forward, pressured a little bit as he did the entire fight, and Cameron Saaiman attacked with something he did prior. He's bouncing back and forth, plants himself, and then throws out a right straight into a lunging left hook. You'll probably remember this from when Jose Aldo attempted this against Conor McGregor and got knocked out for it. And Cameron Saaiman did this very same technique before in this fight with Tabbit and got caught by the same exact punch. This is the second and final time Tabbit counters him for this. So what Saaiman is trying to do with this combination is, with that right hand, he's trying to get Tabbit to lean away, overload on the back hip. And by that, he's going to be able to cut off slightly to the left and catch Tabbit a bit overextending backwards with his left hook. But this does not work when you just block, right? When you stand your ground and just block and counter. Tabbit stood right in front of him, blocked with his right hand, and countered Saaiman with his own left hook that put him to the ground. And the thing about Tabbit's left hook is it didn't have nearly as much power. Or should I say, he didn't generate nearly as much power, because no matter what he's doing, it's powerful. So he didn't even generate the full amount of power he can throw into a punch. It's just a simple left hook, right? Very similar to like what Francis Ngannou threw at Stipe Miocic. Stiff to the jaw, puts Cameron Saaiman to the ground and causes the finish. Powerful shot and great timing from Payton Talbott. And now let's look what happened before, because the same exact sequence happened earlier in the fight, but Saaiman didn't get knocked out that time. So the first thing that happens here is Tabbit makes an error when he bounces and then steps forward. Saaiman timed when Tabbit brought his back foot forward, making his legs closer together, right? So his stance is a lot more narrow, causing him to be taller and more hittable, right? Because Tabbit was about to step forward with the lead foot, but Saaiman attacked before he was able to do so. So that's the position that Tabbit's going to be in right now. Still wins the exchange. Saaiman attacks again with that right straight. Now he's in a closer range than he was at the finishing sequence and lunges for the left hook. The exact same combination from Saaiman. And Tabbit partially blocks Saaiman's left hook and counters with his own as he throws a short while stepping back, taking the power off the punch. In the finishing sequence, he didn't step back until he already landed it. Here, he gets off of his back foot right before he lands the left hook, which takes power off of it, but it still drops Cameron Saaiman. So we know that Tabbit adjusts and makes this work better when he finished him. And now let's get to some of the other stuff that Payton Talbott was able to utilize against Cameron Saaiman. So we look here. He stutter steps to get to the outside foot advantage, right? So he wants to try to swing around the lunging left hook as an anchor for his right hand. So he's trying to line up the right hand off of his left hook, setting it up, but Saaiman ducks perfectly under the left hook and counters Tabbit with a flush hook over the top. Lands this perfectly to the jaw, but Tabbit didn't care at all. Eats the punch like a Tic Tac and crushes Saaiman to the body and one more to the head, disengaging for more reads. Later, you do see Saaiman get pushed back a lot, and he needs to free up some space for himself. So he throws a body kick and extends now the lead left as he switches from throwing the body kick. So throwing the body kick causes him to switch stances forward, and now he's throwing that left hand. This kind of combination is going to cross a lot of distance and gets Tabbit to successfully move back. But Tabbit only slides back enough to pull his head away, just away from the punch by mere inches, and nearly connects perfectly with his counter right straight. The timing was insane here from Tabbit. Now we talk about some stutter steps from Tabbit that he uses to kind of change up his tempo and throw off Saaiman's timing, but originally here, he uses it offensively more than defensively. So Tabbit is on the hunt, and he cuts off Saaiman's retreat with a left hook as he stutter steps, giving as little vulnerabilities from his footwork, right? Because stutter steps are amazing as they keep you grounded more frequently with every step. And they happen very quickly, right? Now, you don't cover a lot of ground, you'll cover short distances, but it's usually very safe to do because every time you're touching the ground with your feet, you're able to move in different angles, away or forward. The only thing is that they can cost more energy as they require some explosiveness. And then you look at the stutter steps here. This is where he throws off Saaiman's timing. So the first step, this is very important. The first step from Tabbit is just a normal step, normal distance, and normal tempo. He then raises his hands when he gets closer and starts shortening his steps for stutters, changing his tempo, and Saaiman ducks his head and swings that left overhand, grazes the target, and Tabbit lands a perfect knee to the body. And because Saaiman threw so hard into that punch, it's going to make the knee from Tabbit a lot more damaging. Or here where Tabbit starts to play a trick on Saaiman by jumping forward. Right, he makes him think like he's gonna throw some big flying attack or something. He also knows at this point that Saaiman is cautious after eating all these shots, so his reactions are gonna be a lot more defensive or reckless. As Saaiman covers up and takes his eyes off of Tabbit, the flying attack is faked, and Tabbit crushes that guard and lands an elbow, also accidentally collides heads. The elbow in this position is a very good strike to get through a guard like this. Now it's time for Tabbit to show off some slick defense. He goes and widens his stance and dips to the right while throwing a left straight, but this widened stance, that left step sideways, stopped his forward movement, and he watches as the intercepting hook from Saaiman whiffs. He creeps up low and invites the front kick, which he easily pulls away from, causing that to miss as well. His positional awareness is perfect in front of these strikes. Then he slips on the outside of the probing hand from Saaiman as he bends at the knees, which is textbook, beautiful stuff from Tabbit, because there's a lot of fighters who bend at the hip, and that could be easier to intercept. So amazing stuff from Payton Talbott. I can't wait to see what he's able to cook up for his next fight, and how much better he's going to be because he's only 25 years old. And this is how good he looks. Crazy, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and if you did, make sure to give this a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video.